Ladies, gentlemen, and tarnished of all ages, maybe you've already finished your first playthrough of Shadow of the Erdtree and are looking for an interesting way to go back through it, or maybe you're still on your first go around and are just looking for a new fun toy to mess around with. Either way, today I've got you covered with another collection of normally missable weapons in the Elden Ring DLC that range from incredibly hard to find but not overly powerful to pretty powerful but not overly hard to find, and will go in a sort of game progression order. The further it is from the first sight of grace of the DLC, the later in the video it will be. Without further ado then, first up is the Swift Spear. This weapon is somewhat mundane when you first look at it. It's just sort of a spear, right? Well, this spear, heavy on the dex scaling by default, but infusible with Ashes of War and affinities as well as any weapon buffs like Bloodfiend Blade, has a very unique moveset among spears. Specifically, like the name implies, it just attacks faster, but not like a hidden percent attack speed buff. Its moveset literally has increased inputs per strike compared to any other weapon of its class. 2 attacks on the first input, 3 on the second input, and then back down to 2. This makes it far more capable of synergizing though with things like status buildup or the successive attack bonus talismans or physic, and it makes this weapon a bit deceptively strong compared to what you might assume from first seeing it if you were to actually, build around it. As far as picking this one up then, from the castle front site of Grace in front of Castle Ensis, this is just a short walk down the eastern main path. Just a white item sitting on a corpse behind a few soldiers that are basically just on the road itself, making it honestly relatively hard to miss. Conversely, secondly, we have the Bloodfiend's Fork, which is also a spear, but it is an arcane scaling spear with bleed on it by default that also scales with arcane, that can also then have Ashes of War or weapon buffs applied on it, like even Bloodflame Blade. It may not be quite as broken as the other Bloodfiend weapon is, but it still makes for an exceptionally strong bleed weapon, if nothing else. As for how to get this one then, unlike the other Bloodfiend weapon that many of us thought was an RNG drop, but it turned out that it actually isn't, this one actually is an RNG drop from any of the Bloodfiend enemies that happen to be wielding it. The easiest group of these to repeatedly slaughter being in Prospect Town, just a short ride south of the Cliff Road Terminus site of Grace over to the west of the Gravesite Plains region here. From here, you just want to head to where the town is on the map, and you can relatively easily climb your way up the runes, and you want to specifically murder any Bloodfiend that is wielding the spear instead of the club, basically. With enough luck then, you will have it sooner rather than later. Third up is the Forked Tongue Hatchet. This is a quality scaling axe, meaning mixed strength and dexterity, not infusible with Ashes of War, but it does have natural bleed buildup on the weapon. And it has a unique weapon skill too, where you can essentially use the weapon to blow out a fire breath in front of you that will actually stay on the ground and continue to apply damage. Not to mention, you can actually input weapon buffs on this too, things like Bloodflame Blade, and the actual fire from the Ash of War will then apply Bloodflame from Bloodflame Blade, which is actually quite interesting. It's extremely cool, though maybe just a little bit more cool than it is functional, and to get this one for yourself, it is another RNG drop, this time from the specific new Fanged Imp enemies that wield these, with the easiest one to farm being in the Scorpion River Catacombs over on the western side of the lower section of Shadow Altus, down by the base of the ruins. Once inside the area, simply head into the dungeon and then take the first left. Then take another left and you will find one of these enemies drop down in a room above an item. Kill the enemy, and if the weapon drops, great. If not, run back to the Grace, do it again. Fourth today is one that people have been asking for quite a while, the Ancient Meteoric or Greatsword. This thing is an absolutely incredible weapon. It's not a one-trick pony, but it's great with its Ash of War, it's great with its heavy attacks, it scales with strength and arcane mainly, with the unique skill scaling more so with strength than it does with arcane. This unique skill then is also one of the coolest new ones added to the game, a charge forward a good distance that costs very little FP and stamina, then a second input allows a white lightning explosion, which counts as mostly physical damage and a touch of magic and has a massive amount of knockback on it. So technically, it isn't even actually using lightning damage, it is doing magic and physical. As well, it has a thrusting heavy attack like the Zweihander and the Fire Knight Greatsword, so in general, it is just a really solid weapon, definitely worth building around if you like the sound of it. As for how to get it then, it is in the ruined Forge of Starfall Past, located in the southern side of Shadow Altus, just a short horse ride away from the Muirth Runes site of Grace. Once inside, you basically just have to complete the dungeon, and here is the full path to do so for the sword directly. we have the Shield of Night, an extremely cool looking darkened mirror shield with dexterity scaling on it, which is interestingly both the worst shield for physical guard damage negation, but also the best of its class at most non-physical guard negation, especially magic. Its special unique skill is Revenge of the Night, which is a bolt of magic, a projectile fired forwards from the shield, which also has its power boosted if you recently blocked an attack with the shield, which essentially just gives you a ranged guard counter performed by the shield's weapon skill itself. This attack also scales with the dexterity scaling on the shield, so it does have some actual potential if you like the concept of it for sure. As far as getting it for yourself, this one is located in the Bonnie Jail just outside of the Bonnie Village, which is accessed from the Morth Ruins. Once inside of the Bonnie Jail though, the path is a little bit long, essentially just slightly before the actual boss at the end, so I'll just show you the full path, including where the secret actually lays that holds the shield, along with a full matching set of really badass looking armor that you get up there too. Sixth then is the Fire Knight Sword Sword, which actually is a dagger, because the Fire Knights honestly just seem really confused about what weapons they are actually holding. It scales with strength, dexterity, and faith by default. It is infusible with Ashes of War and weapon buffs on top of having natural fire damage on the weapon as well. No unique moveset on this, sadly, compared to the other Fire Knight weapons, but it is still pretty solid and very cool looking regardless. To get this one for yourself then, simply farm the Fire Knight enemies that are wielding a pair of them. The easiest one to repeatedly kill is right beside the Storehouse 7th floor Site of Grace inside of the Shadow Keep. Just about 10 feet away from the Grace itself, every time that you rest, they'll be just walking around waiting for you to kill them. 7th up then is the Chilling Perfume Bottle, which is very simply just the Frostbite build-up magic damage version of the Perfume Bottle weapon type added with the DLC. It scales with intelligence and dexterity, and this one is just really cool. It is exceptionally good when you build for it properly. We even have a build with this on the channel with near boss one-shotting capability, so let's just say that they are absolutely worth using if you like the look of them. To get this one then, we need to visit another jail, this time the Lamenter's Jail, located in the Red Flower Zone and the cliffs above the Cerulean Coast. To make it simple, I've laid out how to get here all the way from the entrance of the Jagged Peak region, just in case, you get lost along the way. Once inside the jail though, the path is a bit more particular, so I'll just show you the fastest route to specifically get the weapon and let that play out. And finally today is Devonia's Hammer, a named colossal weapon with a unique skill on it, and the final weapon of the Crucible Knights to complete this set. This thing scales mainly with strength, secondarily with faith, and then a little bit of dexterity as well, and its unique skill is probably very familiar to those who enjoy the Crucible weapons already, as it is essentially just an advanced version of Ordovis's Vortex from the Ordovis greatsword. It takes longer to charge, it does more damage, it has better hyper armor, but the damage of this one is much more in the big pop of explosion at the end than it is for its compatriot, which does make it a little bit just a touch harder to use. That said though, it is a super cool weapon, it is very buildable, and it's fun as well. To get it for yourself, this one is both along the main path of the DLC and also missable. It is in the Ancient Ruins region, specifically near the Ancient Ruins east side of Grace. Here, you'll find this Crucible Knight just standing on a hill, wielding this weapon. They aren't a boss health bar or anything like that when you actually get close to them, and they're just sort of standing around, so you may have thought that they might just not drop anything and not wanted to bother with a Crucible Knight because their movesets are really difficult. But I'm here to tell you that that's not the case here, as on defeat, this one will give you both their weapon and their helmet as well for your trouble. That's just about it for today then, everyone. Just another 8 new weapons in the DLC to pick up and add to your collection. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and hopefully at least one of these is interesting enough to you personally to get you to go out and grab it for yourself. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.